Welcome to Slash Forward, the channel where we provide summarization and commentary for all your favorite popular and obscure horror movies. In this video, we're going to take a look at the supernatural thriller Final Destination, made in the year 2000. When a group of teens inadvertently cheat death, they're left trying to find out who's next and if there's any way to break the cycle. The end result is a series of highly improbable and sometimes surprising Rube Goldberg-style set pieces. One advantage of this is that a movie based around the occurrence of unexpected and improbable circumstances unfolding gives ample justification to overlook inconsistencies or weaknesses in the plot. If there are any, let's see for ourselves. The movie opens on a stormy night. We get brief glimpses of expositional fragments indicating we're being introduced to someone preparing to take a flight to France. And based on the ever-present fan, they're doing so in a musty room. We then cut to the morning of what seems like a fairly standard day as our main character, Alex, prepares for his flight. Alex left an old flight tag on his luggage because it was from a flight that didn't crash. Since that's not how planes work, she slashes that tag right off. We find out that Alex is taking a senior trip to Paris. His dad encourages him to let loose while he's there.
Live it up, Alex.
Ease up there, Dad. We don't need anyone leaving babies behind. Also,
You got your whole life ahead of you.
is true even if you die young. Enjoy your flight, but not yet. For some reason. It's now nighttime again, maybe because portents of doom and despair come across creepier that way? While Alex sleeps, an inexplicable breeze rolls through his room. Not to be a pessimist, but it's most likely the inescapable machinations of fate, cursing his soul as death closes in on him. At least that's my guess. After several days of introduction, we finally make it to the airport, where Alex meets up with the rest of the Dude Bro crew, ready to absolutely crush it in Paris. Alex, being as superstitious as he is, sees doom everywhere he looks. In one of the more overt signs, a Hare Krishna jumps out to inform him of the nature of death. Thanks for that. Luckily, Miss Luton is there to harshly rebuff him. Alex then looks beguiled as the flight board updates, showing that his flight is set to leave at 9:25, matching his birth date. That probably means you're gonna die. We then chew up a little runtime getting ready for the flight. The teens do teen stuff while Alex continues to stare at things. In this case, likely pondering normal teen insecurities as he notices the imposingly phallic nature of the plane. One of his buddies convinces him to take a pre-flight dumper, and then they begin to board. In the walkway, Alex is distracted by dad-asses, and he continues to make micro-observations of details like scuffs on the plane and other stuff as he gets himself more worked up. This kid! Alex gets friend-zoned and then increasingly agitated as they begin takeoff. They hit a little early turbulence during takeoff, which evens itself out. And then shit goes sideways as the plane begins to pull itself apart at 500 miles per hour. The carnage ultimately leads to an explosion which wakes Alex in his seat. Apparently in the 3 minutes spent boarding, he hit full REM sleep, but this power nap left him feeling sweaty and disoriented. As events begin to unfold in a way similar to his dream, he becomes more and more unsettled. When even smaller details match up, like his snack tray breaking, it proves to be too much, and Alex snaps. In a scene that's very pre-9/11, he's dragged off the plane rather than shot or suffocated, in response to his freakout. The ruckus manages to pull in several of his drama-seeking peers, all who get caught up in the flight ejection. This prevents the group from being able to reboard, and unfairly penalizes Hitchcock, who's just now showing up to board after having a hard time cutting one off in the bathroom. As they continue to fight about their poor fortune, they're treated to a fortune reversal when the plane explodes in midair. Sad for the passengers, but hey, you've cheated death. At least you can go home and relax, right? Naturally, the group is traumatized after this event. A gentleman from the National Transportation Agency shows up to provide an assist, checking in with how they're doing and discussing counseling options. However, this nurturing BS is too much for the FBI agents, who have some interrogating to do. So they put an end to this and begin questioning the group, who tells them everything we just watched. The main suspect at this point is Alex, having made inappropriate comments about what was going to happen right before those events came true. They all go home with their families, except for Clear. She hitches a ride with Alex so we can establish her as a moody loner. With a heart of gold? We'll see. 39 days later, the school has a memorial service for the classmates and faculty lost in the crash. Whoever was in charge picked perfectly, as we come to see the memorial consists of a bitchin' eagle statue, and the service involves acoustic guitaring with some classic 90s emo warbling over the top of it.
Do you remember that time that I've never laughed so hard?
We find out that most of the school is off-put by Alex, believing he had something to do with the crash, or is at least a creepy foreteller of death.
Don't talk to me, you scared the hell out of me.
Unfortunately for his crippling loneliness, most of the other characters seem to be as superstitious as he is. Todd gives a moving speech about the inevitability of death, and then later presents us with something like our 15th bathroom squatting scene so far. Meanwhile, Alex, feeling a disturbance in the universal chi of the lower colon, is accosted again by that incessant breeze. Back at Todd's bathroom, he's playing grown-up at the sink and practices shaving, dreaming of the day he'll sprout his first whisker. When he cuts himself, he moves on to the nose hairs. He's really treating himself to a variety of spa-like grooming services today. Alex throws a spank bank, which is immediately immediately shredded. A scrap lands on his knee, and instead of something naughty, it's a segment of text that says Todd, which obviously means Todd is going to die. We cut back to Todd as a slow water leak pursues him through the bathroom. The water is able to cause him to slip and fall into the tub, wrapping a cord around his neck in the process, while spilled shampoo ensures he never gets back up. He dies slowly in the tub in an excruciatingly brutal manner. Afterward, the water recedes, confirming our suspicions of its otherworldly nature. Alex and Clear both end up at Todd's house. Todd's parents blame Alex for Todd's death, assuming it was a suicide resulting from the guilt he felt for leaving his brother on the plane to go check on Alex. We also find out that Clear was there because she has some sort of connection to Alex's emotional state. Assuming there's more to be learned, they break into the funeral home to visit Todd's body, because they're forensics experts or something? They're interrupted by Candyman, who isn't mad they broke in. He's just happy to have company to talk to. So he does, but only vaguely.
In death, there are no accidents.
They conclude that there's some sort of fatalistic design at work here that's trying to finish what they interrupted on the plane. Maybe if they know the plan, they can prevent it, but they must proceed with caution.
You don't even want to fuck with that, Mac Daddy.
The next day, we have a near convergence of unfortunate circumstances as Carter pulls a Yui and almost hits Hitchcock so he can confront Alex outside a cafe. Carter's coping mechanism is overt aggression, specifically directed at Alex. His girlfriend Terry has had enough. She has no more tolerance for anger or fear, and is ready to let go of her survivor's guilt and move on, which she manages to do successfully for the rest of her life. Alex, now scared of his apparent power, decides it's better to steer clear of the other survivors in the event he has any undue influence on the course of their lives. Meanwhile, the plane crash investigators have a more complete idea of what happened. The explosion was related to a chain reaction throughout the fuselage. Alex recognizes that this may indicate a possible order for the intended sequence of their deaths. Now, with some direction, we have a general idea of what's to come. It's just a matter of figuring out how to stop it. Having determined Miss Luton is next, we now turn our attention to her, acting the balls out of this phone call.
I lived here my whole life, you know, and everywhere I looked for great memories.
When she sees Alex creeping around, she calls the FBI. They show up promptly and drag him off before he has a chance to complete his mechanical inspection of her car. And too bad, because right after he's taken, Miss Luton gets that familiar breeze of indeterminate source. With that trouble now gone, she gets back to her work. She finds Mom's favorite record and proceeds to spit on her grave by putting her fingers on the grooves. Meanwhile, Alex undergoes the catch and release. The FBI doesn't buy his pattern talk, but have no reason to hold him, so he takes his leave and beelines straight back to Miss Luton, who's in the midst of switching up from tea to vodka, as the mug splits and the machinations proceed. Some drops of vodka spill into her monitor, causing a short in the cathode tube, blasting glass into her neck, a sequence of words unfamiliar to anyone born the year this movie came out. Not done teaching her a proper lesson for deigning to drink that devil's juice, the short then starts a fire that travels along Satan's pee-pee trail back to the vodka bottle, which then explodes. If that wasn't crazy enough, the knife block falls and a large kitchen knife finds purchase in her torso, which is then driven to completion by a falling chair. Could death not have just given her a heart attack or something? Alex, unable to save her, witnesses the last few links in this chain of events and then flees. It just so happens that Skeeter shows up right at this moment and then the house explodes. Carter and Hitchcock show up to the memorial at Clear's request. Given the recent events, they're all taking this fairly seriously now. They decide they need to find Alex to see if there's anything they can do to prevent further deaths. As they drive toward where they assume Alex is located, Clear gets out to circle around while the boys drive on. And she catches up with Alex and gets like totally metaphysical with him.
That was the design for my father and my family? Then fuck death.
Suggesting the fatalistic view of death that is unfolding potentially dictates their whole lives. But according to the many worlds theory,
it exists, that place where my dad is still safe.
So, like, it sucks to die here, but you may be alive there, which isn't the same you, but it's you in essence, so you can take solace. A version of you with whom you share no experiences lives on. Somewhere. Alex joins the group and Carter decides to take control of his fate, but only manages to confirm that this is out of their hands as he leaves untold numbers of car wrecks in his wake, but emerges from the carnage unscathed. Carter can't decide whether he's coming or going as he patiently awaits an oncoming train, but then changes his mind only to find himself stuck. Alex gets him out just in time and they all stare in amazement at this fortunate turn of events. And feeling cheated, death ensures that Hitchcock will never again have to risk a bad haircut. By finally taking some sort of action in response to the portents of death, Alex has a revelation. He recognizes that, while death wasn't totally avoided, the order was skipped. He's not totally sure how they can use this information yet, but acknowledges that he's next. And so he goes off to hide in a secluded cabin that he's baby-proofed with copious quantities of corks and duct tape. He spends his days eating canned crap and preventing unnecessarily complex accidents from happening. Since this won't serve to kick off a finale, Clear decides she's ready to take action as well, and tells the FBI agents of Alex's location. At the same time, Alex realizes he got the death order wrong due to his seat seat change on the plane, and that Clear's next in line. Alex, determined to reach her, very slowly gets away in a canoe, which surprisingly works. With Alex on the way, the universe decides that it's now Clear's turn and attempts to lure her into danger by threatening her dog. Despite several missteps, both she and Alex are able to barely fumble their way into a situation wherein she's locked in a car with a live power line dancing on her hood. Deciding to break the order to save Clear, he plans to sacrifice himself. He says his final goodbye.
I'll always be with you.
Just not in the sense of being alive, and he grabs the line. Clear's able to get free as the neighborhood power grid drains into his body. Fortunately, as we learned from Jurassic Park, massive electrical shocks rarely result in more than a mild inconvenience. I'm not even sure why Death bothered with this method in the first place. And we cut to 6 months later. Alex, Carter, and Clear are all alive and well in France, and apparently close friends as a result of their shared trauma. Even though they're in relaxation mode, Alex can't help himself, and tries to fill the final plot hole by pointing out that the death cycle hasn't been totally broken, because no one intervened for him. He attempts to run off. To where? We can't be sure. When Carter tries to stop him, he saves him by accident, putting himself on the chopping block.
So who's next?
And there you have it. Fate rules our lives, except when we intervene in a way that conforms to the pre-existing rules that we don't know about up front and have no direct access to, but can sometimes intuit if we're lucky enough to have special extrasensory powers or something. Like I said, it's probably best not to think about it too hard. In a world where almost everything that happens to us is our destiny, seemingly unlikely circumstances can be forgiven because it plays into the theme. It's easy to see and appreciate what they're trying to do here, and it results in a fun diversion from standard horror movie formulas at the time. I'm sure as the series goes along, we'll get more interesting and elaborate deaths with fewer attempts to expand and explain the rules, which I'm looking forward to. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.